Hello, folks. I hope you're doing all right. Welcome to Stay Well with Dr. Zorba Pastor.
That's me.
I feel like that's a new thing now. We're just tapping on our water glasses. It's nice. I'm Carl Christensen. I'm sitting across the desk from
the real
one.
Dr. Zorba Pastor.
The genuine article. I like when you say your own name, actually.
It's so odd.
It probably never feels natural.
Never.
Big show today. Big one.
We do.
Big show. We're going to hear about the approval by the FDA of the first mRNA, it's hard to say, mRNA flu shot.
Right. We're going to talk about that, how it's different from the regular flu shot, influenza, what it is, so you, the patient, can make the decision versus the anti-science cult in Washington who says, we want to make the decision for you. You can make the decision for you, and that's the way it should be with any medical care you get.
All right. Zorba's
you are in the driver's seat.
Hey,
that's what counts.
Save it for the topic discussion,
okay,
Zorba.
okay.
I know you.
So you can see
you're
I'm
fired up about. Yes,
I am fired up. That's right.
Zorba's going to tell us about his recent trip to India. He just got back from India. We're going to tackle some listener questions. We're going to hear from my mom, who's still churning out the mom jokes, and we might also get a corn report. We've never done that before. Corn report.
That's
what
typically
is that?
Midwest and Wisconsin. They'll have to tune in to see the corn report.
Stick around.
I'm not
for
giving
the
it
corn
up
report.
this soon. Forget it.
Yeah. The phone number to call anytime if you have a question for the good doc, it's 608-492-9292.
And email me at askdrzorba@gmail.com, and you can email Carl at askdrzorba@gmail.com.
We share that email
We go
address.
get answers. I love those emails. I love answering them. And remember, I've got a website, drzorba.org.
All right, let's jump right into this, Zorba. The FDA has now, this is hot news here, has just approved the first ever mRNA flu shot.
That's right. So first of all, let's look at what that is. So the traditional flu shot is handled in a more traditional way. It's basically on eggs, or at least it was on eggs. They grow, they grow the virus in some fashion, bottle it up and put it into a shot. And that has really changed many things. Traditional flu shots range in effectiveness from 22% to 56%. In other words, they're not 100%. But I've had influenza, and it's terrible, probably twice in the last 20 years. I'm going to get a flu shot every year. Because, what they do is they try to figure out what the best flu shot is. They do it because influenza is rotating around the globe. So they look at what's in Australia and then develop the flu shot that they think will come from Australia. But sometimes it morphs and changes.
And they're always kind of tweaking the cocktail,
They're always
right?
tweaking the inside of it.
Yeah.
But it appears that this flu shot, the mRNA flu shot, is much more effective, approximately 27% more effective than the standard flu shot, which is really, really good. How do they find that out? Well, they did a bunch of testing. They spent $500 million in doing testing with the flu shot. They had literally 40,000 older adults across 11 countries, U.S. included. They looked at the side effects. Most common side effect, little injection site, the pain, a little fatigue and headache because your body's actually making antibodies. And they were more common, by the way, in the group that had the old-fashioned shot than they did from the mRNA shot. So what about this? Well, first of all, we know that RFK Jr. is going to be against it. But if you want to get your health care from RFK Jr., what I would do is call his office and make an appointment to get your health care. That's what you should do. I don't want somebody in the government telling me what I can't do when I have science behind me. I am totally against it. Now, if you don't want to get your flu shot, that's your business. You don't have to get it. But I want the government to say, if you get a flu shot, it's going to be paid for by my health insurance, just the way it has been all along. They pay for tetanus, they pay for MMR, and the reason is the government approves it, and insurance companies have to follow suit. But with this new mRNA, and by the way, the FDA's Independent Advisory Committee unanimously recommended this vaccine before RFK and the leader of our country, who shall not be named, came in and said, wait a minute, we're going to put a bunch of people that don't believe in healthcare on the advisory committee, which of course they did, and then it went into the courts. So right now, you may have to pay for the new vaccine. It may not be covered because the loony bins in Washington don't want it covered because they're a member of a cult. So how do you deal with a cult? Just a little side effect. How do you deal with a cult? I think you deal with it with information. Mm-hmm. You'll change some minds. You're not going to change all minds. I mean, my father voted straight Republican. My mother voted straight Democrat. We did not have political discussions in the family because he was voting state Republican. She was voting state Democrat. I got to choose. That's about the way it was. But I think you should have the choice to get the mRNA vaccine because it is 27% more effective. So I'm calling on the government that a court right now has basically stopped in and said, well, the government really can't go any further, even though the advisory committee before Trump took people off the advisory committee said unanimously, we want this approved. Why? Because they were people of science. And right now, the control of government is not, when it comes to medical care, is not in front of people of science. They're people of the cult.
Yeah, you couldn't have stated that more plainly. If you have a question for the good doc, 608-492-9292.
Ask me, email me, send a question to askdrzorba@gmail.com and come to our website, drzorba.org. And if you're listening to this, tell 2 or 3 people about it. Doing the podcast takes a bit of time. Of course, we had to buy some equipment, not a lot, but some equipment. And then we have to pay for basically on the various things. And so it costs a bit of money. I, by the way, do not take any of that money because I have a 401k and I'm an old guy. So I don't do that. But any money that goes in goes to basically run that and go to the team, Carl, to basically do that because he has young children and I'm an old guy. I have young grandchildren.
Yeah, we've actually never done this before. Ask for anything,
Not
but you can donate. Actually, you can be a listener supporter. So the way to do that, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can see a link that says support the show. That's actually what it says. You just click that link and it brings you to our podcasting platform website, which is called Buzzsprout. And there you can just choose. You can do whatever amount, $3 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month.
Tiny amounts make a big difference.
One-time quick setup.
They pay for all this stuff that we're actually doing.
Yeah. And some listeners are already doing that. And thank you if you're listening. Thank you for that support. Boy, this kind of sounds like our pledge drives from public radio. Remember doing those?
Well, it's kind of like a pledge drive. Yeah, it is kind of because this is an extension of the show that was really on for almost 35 years. Mm-hmm. And it was a wonderful show. At one point, we were in 100 markets. And right now, of course, that's what we're doing. We want to get back up to that number. Yeah. But to do that, sometimes you need a bit of support. So thank you if you've donated, and thank you for listening.
I thought you were going to do your classic thank you. Thank you. Remember the 3 thank yous in a row for our pledge drives?
Already. Are you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We don't have any tote bags to give people, unfortunately. All right.
No, we don't.
Moving right along. Let's talk. Actually, Zorba, you just got back from India. You were just on a big trip to India. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was on a big trip. So first of all, I have a humanitarian project that I, with others, as part of a team, spearheaded about 15 years ago. And it was to reduce, maybe 12 years ago, reduce tuberculosis among Tibetan children in sort of schools. They're not really orphanages, but parents drop them off. They don't have enough money to take care of their kids, so they want them to get a Tibetan and a standard Indian education. Monasteries and nunneries. So when I started, the hospital in Dharamsala, Delhi Hospital, had 26 beds filled with TB patients. Wow. About maybe a third of them were sleeping in the hallway under a veranda outside, So they, when it rained, they got a little wet and we didn't have any space and we thought about expanding it. And here we are, 15 years later. And when I went there, there was one person.
Wow. That's...
One person.
You can call that a success.
The rooms are empty.
Wow.
And when we look at what we did, there's been an 87% drop in the schools, the monasteries, and the nunneries that we visited and convinced people. First of all, we did something called case finding. So we had the first gene expert machine in India that we got through USAID money and some money from Johns Hopkins, some money that we threw in from Tibet Fund, which is where we collect money for this. And this machine used to be, it took you 4 to 6 weeks to grow out the TB bug. It takes a long time, and to find out if it's drug resistant. Now you put it in the machine, you have to pay $20. It's a lot of money for the aliquot that goes in there. You put in good sputum, put the aliquot, put this stuff in there. You just put a little closed bag in there, push a button. You could run it. I could run it. 20 minutes later, tells you, A, do you have TB? And B, if it's drug resistant. Game changer.
Wow.
Game changer, because we could pick it up. Next, we have a portable x-ray machine that fits into a backpack.
Wow.
So we can do point of service. If you go out to a rural school or rural nunnery and they're TB skin test positive, just like the test you used to get years ago with your kids, or when you were a child, certainly I did. If your skin test positive, we then pull out this machine and do an x-ray, which is then read by AI. And it reads, AI reads if it is a negative, in other words, and the false negative rate, in other words, the false negative rate with AI, the chances of it are about the same as a radiologist. So we don't have to send it to a radiologist if it's negative. If AI says it might be there, then it goes to the radiologist. So, and it's right on, it's right up in the cloud. So this allows us to immediately diagnose whether or not people have active TB or latent TB. So it's mind-boggling what we have done.
Wow.
So that was the humanitarian part.
Yeah, there's other stuff you did there, right?
The other part is I've been on the healthcare team helping the Dalai Lama stay healthy for years. Many, many years, about 20 years I've been part of it. When he came to the U.S., I would arrange to make sure his health care was, I would sort of arrange the health care at Mayo Clinic. I was sort of the front guy who would arrange it. I would go with him there with Dr. Seton, his main doctor, and we would do what we would call an executive physical. So we did that. When he had surgery in New York for knee surgery, I was there helping him with his knee surgery and other things. So I think all of these things really made a difference. So I went there also to basically see him, speak to Dr. Seton, and he was in Ladakh. Now, India is a big country.
Yeah.
And you know how many people are in India? Just take a guess.
I'm just going to say a lot.
That's right.
Is that a good
I think
guess?
it's like 1.2 billion. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
So there are many different areas that are really completely insulated. So Ladakh is in the upper left-hand corner of the country. It's in the mountains. The city of Leh is at 12,500 feet. And when you're in the city, you see mountain cliffs in front of you. So like when you're in Colorado, you're at 5,000 feet and you see mountain cliffs and they're at 14,000. When you're in Ladakh, you're at 14,000 and you see cliffs that are like at 22 to 24,000.
Different perspective.
And because we know the Himalayas at one point were underwater, they were pushed up. They have the world's largest sand dunes. Oh. So some of the mountains are actually sand dunes, which is kind of crazy because we're up there. Where did the sand come from? Well, it used to be way down below. But I went there because His Holiness goes there every monsoon season. And I was in monsoon when I was in Dharamsala where the project goes on. But here it's dry. And I went to visit him, see him, talk about his medical care, and talk to me. He calls me his old friend. He's called me his old friend even when I was young. Yeah. So I think the appellation means in there. And he's 90 years old, he has some physiological problems, just a little bit harder. If you see him, he has two monks usually holding him up because he does not like a walker. Mm-hmm. In America, if he weren't the Dalai Lama, he would be on a walker. But he doesn't do that. He has these other people that help him all along. But I was really there to sort of listen to him and think about things. It wasn't just a tourist visit. I went to a number of monasteries. Dr. Seton set it up with monks who took me around. There are paintings there that are from 900 AD and 1000 AD, and they're dry. It's a dry area. So there was a room of 1,000 Buddhas. Every face was different, and they had taken part of the mountain and made it into a straight sort of wall. They have no idea how they did it, but they broke it apart. We're talking about the year 1000 or something. Anyway, So I had a driver. There was a driver who took me around, and I was talking to him. I've kind of two stories that illustrate one. When I was talking to him, and I said, "Did you grow up here in Lane?" He said, "No, I grew up around, a few hours away in a village." And I have hiked in Nepal and Tibet, off the grid, really off the grid. So I kind of know what they're like. I mean, they're small. How many were in the village? About 200, 250. Electricity said, no, of course not. There was no electricity. There was no solar. They're not going to put wires, into a village of that. So no electricity, no running water in the middle of nowhere. Anything they get comes on basically small horses and donkeys. So very little commerce. So they would get some kerosene for lamps, but they had to be careful how they used it. So I said, tell me about your sort of typical day. He said, well, get up in the morning. And then we had a cow, we had some sheep, and we had goats. Where were they? Well, they were in the room next to us. So it wasn't like a barn separated. They were in, you could think of it like we would like in the garage or just in another room. So I said, what do you do there? Well, we would collect the poop and then we would pop it together and put it on the side of the wall to dry out because that's what we cooked with. So they took what we call cow pies. These are yak pies also that were there. And cooked, that's what they cooked with it. And I've seen it. So once it dries, they stack it. And that's what they don't want to use their kerosene. And then what else? He said, we played a lot of games. He said, there's nothing like playing hide and seek in the dark. And I thought, I've never played hide and seek in the dark. We play it inside or outside, but it's always light. Mm-hmm. And he said, in the dark is much better. He said, is it pitch black? Sometimes just the stars.
Like the real dark there.
Sometimes the stars. He says stars are pretty brighter than the moon, but it didn't matter. And then we played a lot of games, and you could see how he was smiling. And I was thinking, our view of that, it's abject poverty. There's so much poverty. True. There's not much medical care at all. True. There's no communication. True. But they still had a good time. And in non-tourist season, his parents live there. Now there's solar in the area. He goes back there for like a month or two. He said, that's home. I love going back there. It's still a remote village in the middle of nowhere, which now has some solar power, but still doesn't have running water. They still get water from one of the rivers that comes down there. And our view is, how could they be having a good time? They look so poor. And of course, everything is, their concept of cleanliness is different. And I realized we have a wrong view of that. You know what I mean? We have a view that people must be unhappy with all the things we have. Now, don't get me wrong. People do want to have more food, better calories, electricity, running water. But they didn't make the best of it. They were in the best of it.
Sure.
It's not like, we wish we had this. And they didn't really know much when he was growing up. Then my other epiphany came. I've been really involved with this concept of why are some people resilient in loss and others not. And loss can be minor or major. It can be loss of a child, can be loss, which is awful. I cannot imagine it. Any imagination doesn't fit what it really is like. Loss of a spouse, loss of a friend, loss of a job, loss of economy. There are many things, and some people do bounce back, and other people are stuck forever. I'm not sure why that is. Part may be inheritance, early learning. But I was listening to His Holiness speak many times about compassion. Compassion. That even the selfish person who's wise understands when you're doing something for someone else, they benefit, you benefit. So I'm getting off the bus. It was 42 hours from when I started the trip back to I made it back to Madison, Wisconsin. A lot of it were layover. I had a day room in a hotel, but I'm wrecked. I'm getting off the Alco bus, Van Gelder bus, at Dutch Mill Park and Ride, which people know in Madison. And one bag is working well. The other bag, one of the wheels isn't working, so I'm kind of dragging it. And I look pretty bedraggled. I haven't slept very well. And I'm calling an Uber. Okay, so I called an Uber to take me home. And the Uber arrives, and it's kind of clear to someone else that I'm kind of struggling because I've got to get this over a curb. And out pops a guy from inside the bus shelter, and it was raining. And he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah." And so he took my bags and put them in the trunk of the car, slammed the trunk. I said, "Thank you," and shook his hand. He went back in the shelter. And I thought, that's one of the keys to resilience. That when you do good for someone else, be it minor, it's pretty minor, putting the drugs in the car, that person feels good, and then you feel good. And that feel-good feeling is going to help you some other time when you're hit with something disastrous. And if you do that all the time, I don't mean necessarily every day, but you think about it. in small things. Like you're at a restaurant, the waitress is really good or waiter, and you go, I'm going to give him more money. I've got a few extra bills in my pocket. I'm going to give them more and make him feel good. Or thanking people or helping somebody like he did. All of that stuff builds up resilience. Now, you can go to websites on resilience. You can pay a lot of money for vitamins. They say they'll give you resilience. You can get a lot of books on resilience. Some are good, some are bad. The more money you pay for a book or a web thing on resilience, the less money it's worth. I think if you have to pay a lot of money, it's probably worthless and garbage. And if you don't have to pay a lot of money, might have some goodness to it because people are doing that. But we all need resilience because it's going to hit us somewhere between life and death. It may not hit you until you're dying, but if you're resilient, you'll enter that phase in better shape.
Okay, Zorba, let's take a listener email. The following message came from Andy in South Carolina, who writes, "Hello, you guys are great, and my wife and I both love your show."
How nice. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
There it is. Andy says, recently you mentioned that you took a year-long trip to Asia with your wife. This is many years ago.
Yeah, right. It was.
And
77, 78.
Wow, you know it right there. That's the year I was born, actually. Not in both those years, but just one of those years.
I hope you weren't born in 2 years.
It was a long...
Then you'd have two heads.
Yeah. Okay, Andy says, so you went to Asia with your wife a long time ago. You didn't eat fresh vegetables for a year based upon water contamination issues. Mm-hmm. That led to us having a conversation about whether fruits were a different story. Could you eat fresh fruit on that trip? We're just curious and a little nerdy. Please let us know if fruits and perhaps their acidity make them safe, or perhaps if fruits that you have to peel would somehow be different. Not sure this is worthy of the show.
It is worthy of the show.
But we wanted to ask.
That's right. It is worthy.
Over the years, one of the things we enjoy is how your show is so conversational, and that leads to irrelevant questions like these. Thank you for everything.
Relevant. So first of all, we ate bananas.
Okay.
Because you can peel a banana. We ate bananas. We never ate fruit salad. I made a mistake once eating fruit salad in Thailand. I was so thirsty. We're ready to get on a plane.
I bet it looked good.
It looked really good. And then about 5 days later, I really suffered in bed for a week. I got a parasite called Giardia.
Oh, sure.
And it was sick, and I was careful with water. There was no bottled water when we traveled. It didn't exist. The plastic industry had not developed it yet. So we had a canteen, and I would put iodine. Chlorine took 30 minutes. Iodine, a drop and a half of iodine. You put 1 drop in, and then you would do half the drop in a dropper bottle and put it in. And that would basically, we ate iodized water pretty much for a year. Anyway, that was basically the fruit. I don't think we ate even apples. We might have eaten apples, in which case we would wash it in our iodized water. That's what we do. But other than that, everything was cooked because we figured that was safe. So when we were on the trains in India, especially in the 70s, were pretty unhygienic. And that doesn't state how unhygienic it was. Indira Gandhi used to be first, second, and third class, okay? Mm-hmm. And Indira Gandhi got elected, and she said, I'm going to get rid of third class. So instead it became aircon, first class, and second class. So third class was
second class.
You could see the 3 was put out, and the 2 was there. We basically did third class. But on there, we would have a hard-boiled egg, and we would wash our hands. There was no hand sanitizer. It wasn't invented. But we would wipe our hands in our iodized water and then peel that. So we would do that, and then we would do things for peanuts. We would have peanuts, put the iodized water on the outside of the peanut, mix it all around, and then we'd eat, of course, the peanut on the inside. And that basically is kind of, on the trains, that's what we did. Anything else had to be cooked. And then we sort of look and try to decide if it was the right place to eat, and we were pretty good. That's a lot to say. Right now, when you're traveling, you've got hand sanitizer, you've got bottled water, and water really is the issue because you don't know if there's anything in the water, and our water is not sterile. The water you drink or I drink, but we're used to the bacteria that are in there, so somebody else from India that comes here might get diarrhea because they're just not used to the natural, the native non-pathogenic bacteria that you live with every day. It's a big line, isn't it?
No, that's good. Yeah. That's actually segues really well into... do you want to do another email?
Sure.
Okay, this is...
I love emails.
Yeah.
In fact, email me at askdrzorba@gmail.com. Ask Dr. Zorba, that's me, by the way, at gmail.com.
All right, so this is from a listener named Judy, and this is, speaking of diarrhea. You mentioned diarrhea. Judy writes, "Hi, Dr. Zorba. So, are you avoiding lettuce right now? I love your show. Respect your advice."
Well, first of all, I'm not avoiding lettuce at the farmer's market.
Right.
The question is, what about bagged lettuce?
Yeah.
And it's Taylor Farms, they think, and it may be others. I'm chopping my own lettuce.
Okay.
Because it was the pre-bagged lettuce, they think. Once again, science is not a vote. They think it's the pre-bagged. And then I take it, I put it in my salad spinner, and I put the water in it, spin it down, put the water in it, spin it down. And I think that's pretty much as safe as it's going to get. Remember, cyclosporidiasis, I think that's how it's pronounced.
Cyclosporiasis. It's a hard one.
Cyclosporiasis.
Yeah.
Been around for a long time. It just hasn't been around in this epidemic form, and that's because it's really because of bagged produce. But if you take the produce yourself, put it in, into that salad spinner, spin it twice, you're going to be pretty good. Is it going to be 100%? No. But I don't want to live with fresh, crunchy things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it in my spinner, wash it twice with water from my sink. No, it's nothing special. The idea is to just get rid of it and pray to the gods of diarrhea that they don't strike me.
The gods of diarrhea. That sounds like a metal band.
The wayward gods of diarrhea. That's right.
If you have a question, you can call 608-492-9292.
Or email me at askdrzorba@gmail.com. Just Coffee Cooperative is a worker-owned, fair trade, and organic coffee roasting cooperative in Madison, Wisconsin, dedicated to a model of commerce based on transparency, respect for labor, and environmental sustainability.
That's right, Zorba, and we both love their coffee, and we drink it all the time.
Absolutely.
One ingredient, no flavors, no additives, just coffee.
Use code ZORBA10 for 10% off your entire order on their website, www.justcoffee.coop. Just Coffee Cooperative, justice from the grounds up.
Okay, this is the part of the podcast episode where I talk about a stand-up comedian named Sandy Christensen, and that's my mom. Mm-hmm. She's actually not a stand-up, but she does write some great jokes.
She's a local stand-up.
She's a local. She should try it. You always hear about stand-ups like starting, when they're in the golden years.
She can make it.
She
can make it. She's in her.
She could.
She's in her golden years of life. She should do it. She should go on tour.
All right.
Jokes.
Mom jokes. Here we go. Mom jokes.
Who's the most diverse smelling rapper? 50 cents.
Oh, God.
This is your birthday.
That was a little 50 cent in there. Yeah. A little 50 cent. Yeah. She's a huge hip hop fan. So that's a good one, Mom. Like that. Very diverse smelling. It's a lot of scents, right? 50 of them.
That's right.
Have you ever smelled something that has 50 cents in it? I don't know if I have.
Never.
No. Can something have that many scents?
Well, we get fatigue.
Yeah. I bet.
We get fatigue or smell.
fatigue.
Yeah, we get fatigue.
Yeah. We'll do a podcast on that someday.
You mean on fatigue or
olfactory
after you do 50 cents?
Yeah. 50 cents to leave your lover. There's something there, I feel like, maybe. Let's do the corn report.
Yes.
You've never done a corn report.
No. Go for it.
Okay. So you love posting on the Stay Well with Dr. Zorba Facebook page. We got recipes, photos, healthy living articles. We get all these comments. We love it. Thanks, listeners. So this is the corn report. You recently shared a photo of you buying some corn, and you wrote, "The best corn in the world comes from Stoneman's in Fitchburg, Wisconsin.
That's right.
And for a couple of extra dollars, they'll shuck it for you."
That's right.
Sweet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You like Stoneman's?
They do. I like it shucked. I have wrist arthritis, so I like it. They do
Shucking,
it.
yeah. I remember shucking it as a kid. My parents would get a bunch of corn, and my brother and I would all shuck it on the deck. And
takes a little bit of work, and
takes
it's
a little
kind of
work.
messy and stuff like that.
Feels good, though, to just rip that thing off.
You like doing that.
I like
as
that.
a kid. How about as an adult who's 79?
I'm not 79.
That's right. That's what I mean.
I won't speak for you.
It's not as much fun.
I bet.
It was fun as a kid. You
Yeah.
know, to do 5 or 6, but not like, But
Right.
But I put it up to freeze, so I do dozens of ears. But
yeah, you do
it comes pre-shucked.
Yeah,
You
pre-shucked.
pay a little bit more to have it pre-shucked.
It sounds
but
worth it.
It's worth it.
It's not the shucking. It's the after. What's the little hair that is on there? What's that? There's a name for that,
yeah,
right?
There's a name for that.
That's the hard part for me. Like
There's a name
shucking's
for that.
easy, but then you're left over with all the corn. we
It's
call it
one-
corn
I
hair.
can't get to the name, but I know what it is. But after the show, it'll come to me.
Okay. Anyways, a lot of comments on this. Let's read a few. Pam wrote, "We cook it in the microwave with the shuck on. Usually cook it 3 minutes per ear on high. It steams perfectly and the silks fall
the
off
silks.
easily." There
That's
it is.
it.
The silks.
I've heard that's good in the
Yeah.
microwave. I've never done it, but I heard that's good. I'll
So
have to try it.
Pam wrote that, and then Tammy in Madison replied, "This is the only way I make sweet corn now, too. It's so easy. The silk slides right off."
Cool.
Jeff in Madison has a different approach. He says, "I soak it in water, cook it on the grill, and then shuck it. You'll get a little extra flavor, and if you bring a drink out to the grill, the extra time is a great way to relax." I like how Jeff got a drink in there.
Kind of like that. I got a picture. I got a picture.
Jeff's got a system. Jolene wrote, "I wait for this post every year." Do you do like an annual corn post?
Yeah, of course.
You must.
Yeah,
then.
I do.
Okay.
When Stoneman's open, I post.
You're in there. Gotcha.
there.
I feel like you have stock in Stoneman's little corn stand. Jill in Sun Prairie wrote, "Wisconsin corn is the best."
Yes.
I agree, Jill.
Yes.
Finally, Eve in Madison wrote, she sums it up very well by writing, "Ah, shucks." Got to end with a pun. Nice job, Eve.
Yeah, it's corn time. I love it.
Corn time, corn
Corn
report.
time. Eat corn until it's coming out of your ears, as they say.
And you'll keep posting on Facebook, right? You're
I
going to
will.
do a lot more of
I
this.
love posting on Facebook. Posting on Facebook is one of the things. Do some posting on Instagram too.
Yeah.
It really, I like to bring back basically what I'm doing, which I think affects my view of what you should be doing with health. Like I said, we have loony bins in Washington who want to take away health care that is scientifically based. You may not take all of the advice on the health care of the scientists. That's okay. That's your choice. But I want to make sure that my insurance plan covers all of my immunizations, which they've had for years. And I don't want the government to take that away because they have what I call a loony anti-science view. And you, as a patient, could decide which immunizations you want, but you should do some because basically we got rid of smallpox through immunization. It killed for the century before we got eradicated smallpox. It killed 100 million people. 100 million people died of smallpox from like 1956 to 1856, something like that, when it was around. And 200 to 300 million people were scarred on their face from smallpox. And we did that through immunizations. We didn't do it through, I don't know, taking vitamins or taking supplements or taking testosterone or anything else they want to throw at you. So you have to realize there's a cult there. They're a cult. Right now, they're in charge. They're driving the bus. But we can push back and say, you can drive the bus, but we want to keep our choices that we have had in the United States of America, in every state, to keep ourselves free of disease, and to keep our children free. I mean, immunizing your children, the data shows 87% of moms want all kids immunized in school, among other things, so their kid doesn't get sick. That's the issue. If you don't want to immunize your child, send them to another school. Go get a private school with the non-immunized kids. And you look, for instance, at measles updates. There were like 200 cases in the year 2000. Now, now there are like 15, 20,000 recorded cases. Huge numbers. That doesn't include the non-recorded cases from people who just go, hey, what's measles? Well, it causes meningitis, it causes blindness, and it causes death. Not in very many people, but if it's your child that develops meningitis and loses IQ points, or your child who dies, that is 100%. And you as a parent don't want that to happen.
All right. We got to end this one, Zorba.
As you
I
can
know
see,
you're
I'm
very
so
passionate.
passionate.
No, that's great.
I'm
That's
so
great.
passionate.
Got to end it.
Yes.
What did we learn today, Zorba? We talked about the FDA approving their
Right,
first
new vaccine, which is really good.
mRNA flu
Excellent.
shot. Yep.
Right.
This episode kind of turned into a travel log, like Zorba's travel stories. We heard a lot about your trip to India and then your way back trip to China. We heard about, what did we talk about? We talked about lettuce.
Yes.
What Zorba's doing with the lettuce. We heard a
Yes.
mom joke. We had a corn report. Boy, we did it all. We did it all, Zorba. What can we do?
We did it
now?
all. What can we do now? Well, what you can do is call 608-492-9292. You can email me at askdrzorba@gmail.com. I love answering them. You can go to our website, drzorba.org, and you can tell your friends and relatives to come and become part of our podcast community, because that's how I hope you will stay well.